Right, talk about the role of fashion and textile. For you to talk about it, actually. So this idea of future interface and this idea of well-being and comfort. And that makes a little with the previous roundtable. At the other end of the fair, that's what was running, not to be too late. We were talking about the different types of public. Talking about well-being, we used to think about elder or older people, which is not true, because no matter how old you are, we're all involved and we're all impacted by this notion of well-being. It's not only a matter of comfort, right? It's about well-being for yourself, or for the environment, and for the people around you. Talking about this, we're very fortunate to welcome Marina Totels by wire. Thank you for joining us. And Charles Reboux, who comes to Avantex regularly. He's been among the first to get interested in materials and, having a different way to use materials. Over to you, since we're very happy to have you. What is the company, what is the studio, what is the business that you came up with, you invented? What is it? Marina, tell us about it.
Thank you so much for having me. Bywire is a firm who tries to combine technology and fashion. So we make the bridge between technical innovators, like maybe printed electronic companies, Philips and high-tech firms, and universities, technical universities, who develop like wonderful stuff.
Speak like that. The microphone like that, please.
Speak close to the microphone, please.
Who do wonderful stuff in the field of innovation of textiles and garments, but that's hardly been worn here in society. So the thing that we are currently wearing could have been made already decades ago. They are made out of the same materials as decades ago. They are made with the same production technologies as years ago. So how is it possible that everything is innovating, that our phones become so new and multifunctional, that our cars even become self-driving vehicles, and that our garments still remain so much the same? And I try to bridge all these nice innovations that are laying and waiting there at the shelves to get them like really into society. How I do it, I'm educated as a fashion designer. So what I do is try to get those technologies out of the shelves and apply them onto the body, into garments, and I make prototypes out of that. So to show the world how fashion also could have been or can become. And you see my booth here by wire, right away here in the front. And there you see like 10 different examples on how I do it. So printed electronics for like sensing your heartbeat and respiration, to indicate your level of stress, or lighting systems totally integrated into garments, or garments that give you like a tiny massage. A lot of different projects there. And that's like really the integrated technology. On the other hand, also how garments are being made. So that we can go way more for ultra-personalized production, that we can weave every centimeter of material in another kind of looks, in another kind of pattern. That's also what you can see there in a few examples. And I think I have a little movie.
Yes, it could be nice. Est-ce qu'on pourrait les amis de la technique?
Yes, our technical friends perhaps could show the video provided by Marina. I saw on your booth, I will speak French, says a speaker, since you have translation. I saw on your booth there was a vast array of amazing creations. I'm convinced of that. It's quite amazing. Amazing proposals you came up with. And if I hear you right, this idea of well-being is cross-sectoral. You talk about the material, about the shaping of the garment, the way parts are assembled. It's so important. Perhaps you could take a look at your video.
Intelligent fashion, containing technology that can measure your health and is still sustainable. My shirt keeps track of my heartbeat and respiration, so I can be more effective. I know there is a lot of technology in there, but I don't feel it. The sensors are seamlessly laminated onto the fabric. It's very comfortable. It's beneficial to wear them on a daily basis because my clothes check my well-being and stress level. The lease and recycle system is a closed loop. I don't have to worry about what to do when the garment is worn out. The technology will be delaminated from the shirt and parts will be recycled. It sounds like a dream of the future, but it's right here and we are wearing it.
It's not longer a dream. Donc
It's not a dream anymore. It's accessible. It's affordable. Good, thank you. So, are we still dreaming, Shah, with Gorfu? That's what I think, listening to you. Not at all. And tell us why you decided to work with this fiber. Well, I was trained as a podologist, and I ended up working in the textile industry thanks to shoes. I got interested in materials, and I kept the same approach to develop my product as a podiatrist. So we want to work on this notion of well-being to develop the right materials for our products, and depending on the use of the products themselves, to make it all smart, well designed for the end user, of course. And what do you think is really important to reconcile things? What matters is the material, this is the use that you make of it, that tells you which materials to use. Talking about feet, you of course will think about shoes. Well, the material that we use is really at the center of the consideration. It's not about dreaming. What I want is to get something tangible. And I believe that the way to produce objects... Regina is with us. Good, you're with us. Thank you. Have you met Charles? So Charles used to be a podiatrist, and one day he got interested in other materials. That's what he's explaining. So the shoes really made me understand that materials were important. I wanted to design shoes that would create a link, be a gateway between podiatrist activities and innovative materials. This is how we came up with materials for any kind of application, for shoes, for the sole, for the garment, or accessories. Any pictures to share? No? But objects? Good. So let's comment on these objects. So we have more time since we have a few speakers today. Materials. Well, yes. That's the shoe sole. You can smell it. Oh, yes. I do smell it. So if you like perfume, that's cinnamon. Well, no, that's not the smelling of my feet. It's cinnamon. Well, usually in nature you can find things that are not necessarily used, that you can find other way to use these materials because they have interesting properties. Cinnamon in this case is interesting, but there are other virtues, of course, not only the perfume. It's a thermoregulating element, so that will keep your feet warm in the winter and keep your feet dry in the summer, avoiding sweaty feet. So that's just an example of materials that we work with. Other things? Well, still linked to my previous activity, it's algae fiber. You work together. What do you do with Charles? I'm Charles' sister. And materials are really the starting point of our creation process. For the cinnamon used for soles is quite interesting, so we want to make the most of cinnamon's properties for our end users. That's why we came up with soles, shoe soles, so that we can use these thermoregulating and energizing properties. We have to make the most of these natural materials. What is this? This is algae fiber. Oh yes. It may smell like shrimp. So both shrimp and cinnamon. Quite good. Quite nice. But what is interesting with this fiber is that you will find elements that are looked for when you create creams for feet, when you want to moisturize the skin and providing oligo elements. That's where to find it, and you can nurture the skin using these kind of fibers. So that is quite innovative. It's good for our well-being. Still for the shoes, right? With this algae, but that's for socks, and I do have a sample of socks, a prototype actually, to show you. What else? I'm quite interested to see what you have to propose. It's a bag. It's a hemp plastic bag. Oh, yesterday somebody told us that there are bonuses with hemp, but you need to plant hemp because you have few hemp fields in Europe. Yes, it's true. Except if you go to Kazakhstan, you have 1 million hectares there, but otherwise, this is more for an overall production well-being. So it's good for the earth and good for the people. Exactly. We try to reconcile both. And hemp, where does it come from? That's from France. So hemp plastic, made in France. You made it? No. It's the inventor of this material that came up with this present for me. So that's hemp. That's a potato bag. Yeah, why not? If you like. Potato's good. And that's very well to cultivate both potatoes and hemp. So well-being, it's also about the well-being of the planet. Well, the planet doesn't need well-being, but needs to be protected. We need to behave better to sustain our well-being. That's the way to put things, rather. But we were told that hemp cultivation, organic hemp, requires other organic cultivations like potato, just to protect the land. Well, hemp will indeed keep the ground quite sound, and that will ease cultivation of and crops of cereals or potatoes later on. Yes, cereals or potatoes. But then it's not the only bonus in terms of production. It's also a matter of consumption. The fiber is breathable with good UV properties. It's good for caps. So from feet to head, good. Regina, who just joined us, you were in a hurry, sorry, but it's good to have you. What about pirate? Well, it's quite interesting. What, pirate or what people say? Well, listening to Charles, I think it's quite interesting. Garfou. Because I believe that we have pretty much the same philosophy for Garfou and pirates. We try and develop needed materials with natural material that would be good for the skin and for the human body. So we specialize in the production of garments, and we work with brands today, sports brands, or ready to wear, but just need wear. And what is quite interesting is that the properties of our fabrics do come from the fiber itself, and we use therefore several kinds of natural fibers. An algae fiber, amongst others, with specific properties for the skin. We also use a vegetal fiber that we are currently patenting because it will provide an improvement of blood flows. We also use bamboo fibers with antibacterial and thermoregulating properties, just like cinnamon. So I think it's very interesting indeed, because we try to work on the same ideas and to try and find fibers that are used in cosmetics or medical applications, and to use these to create functional and natural fabrics. Well, thank you so much. We have a lot of questions for you later on. Marina, what about you? Do you use natural materials as well? Listening to you, seeing your images, I was not quite sure, but do you use those natural materials as well?
but not solely. So I
Not
really-
only, not only.
No, I use whatever is then suited best for like the functionalities that we envision, and I'm like really inspired and motivated by all the technical advances. So that can be in biomaterials and biotechnology, but it can also be in more the technical and the chemical fields. So yeah, what I do with like for example, the printed sensors, and they need a kind of stability onto the skin, and then sadly we still not are able to get rid of the elastane in the material, just to make sure that the sensing properties function as good as.
Excusez-moi,
as
tout le
they
monde
should.
entend, madame? Vous entendez bien ce que dit madame?
Can you all hear what the lady's saying? Right, good. They can hear you right.
And I think coming with these kind of very innovative materials, it's of course we all want to strive after a better world, so after a better environmental world, but also that the garments are going to give more value to the users, so that they increase in relevance, for example, and that not only brings us to making good products, good-looking products, good well-being, but also like the sustainable and circular business models that we have to rethink. And that, I think that's also a major issue that we have to discuss here, especially where there's so much business going on around. How can we avoid this like linear system of buying materials, making products, selling them out, and gone? How can we make it more and more circular? And that's one of the things that I'm especially researching in also my projects, where one is about the integration of technology, so hardware into garments, but we totally research also on how to get it delaminated, how to get it out. So during lifetime, it gives extra value for the users, but then we also have to take care and make sure that the recycling loop is there again. So what we managed to do is that we made printed electronics washable for 25 cycles, then get them out, refurbish them, and get them integrated into another product or another shirt or another whatever, so that we separately can recycle them and close the loop via that system. But of course that also requires that you remain owner of these kind of products. So maybe then we have to go for leasing systems, and that's a total different discussion. And I'm really wondering also how you are approaching it, and are you thinking about those kind of future steps? Maybe not for the now, but for maybe in 5 years, 10 years of time.
Si je comprends bien ce que vous nous dites, n'est-ce
If I hear you right, you have a very specific business model that you have been able to develop with BioWire, right? It's very specific the way you structure, between research and technology. But research, how do you steer it? Do you do it yourself, or do you use technologies that are developed by laboratories in other fields of application?
I'm trying to manage and organize and initiate a lot of the projects myself, but I never do it alone, of course. It's so complex, and everyone, no one is doing anything which has a little bit of impact alone. So yes, we work with big teams, and also like business strategics and of course technologists, so screen printers and the total round. And I think I have one picture on like the complexity of how these kind of systems can be shown.
À nouveau des images qu'on pourrait nous envoyer, s'il vous plaît, les camarades.
So do you have pictures to show?
Numéro 3 en français.
Next slide. Yeah, here you can see the very complex production chain, but also the business loop that we try to put into place for the closed loop smart and leisure fashion collection, which you can see here in the booth at the corner. So what we research in the technical material area is that you can use it, but that you also can separate it. So the lamination is heat laminated into the garment, but also how to delaminate it, to get it separated. Then you see that the chain is splitting into this Jigsaw chain and then the sensor chain. Well, different parties come there together to get it merged again, so to marry the tech and the design part. Of course, there's a lot of design going on in that place. Also, we use form freedom in our sensing tech. So that should be designed not only on a functional way, it measures heartbeat. So this, of course, the signal should be translated carefully, but also looks, because people should accept it. Well, and then you have at the top, of course, the marketing, how to bring it into the field. This leasing systems is totally different than the buying system. So you have to do a lot of knowledge transfer and a lot of knowledge education, I guess, even to get the consumers also in this kind of mindset that they are willing to use the garments, but also send them back again. Well, then you have the using system, and of course we also would like to have them surfaced with how to care for the garments, and if something breaks, that we take the responsibility of repairing, and then we have to get it back. And right now in the Netherlands, we managed to get like about 30% of the garments back, like the ordinary garments. So where is the other 70% going? And this mindset on bringing the garments back into a certain kind of system needs to be developed. And then you have to circle around to again go for the materialization and dematerialization, and bring it back into the loop. So this is kind of the system that we put into place in this very specific project.
Merci de souligner, je veux dire.
Thank you for insisting on this capital approach of circular economy. This is essential. And of course, Avantex is definitely involved. We can see the booth of our friends at DS Mode, City, and other Techterra. So this idea of sustainability must be kept in mind with a very innovative process of research and applied research. But I'd like to ask a question to Regina. This idea of research, it's upstream research, experimental research, or do you focus on applications rather? Well, applications, right. So you can identify the elements you need on the market. Well, yes, on the market. What do you come up with? Something special? Well, some of the fibers that we use are used by us for the first time. So it starts with the transformation of a natural fiber that never were used before for textile. And then these elements, these natural elements, are used with textile fibers. Any example to give us? Well, one of the vegetal fibers that we use, I was referring to about the patent. I cannot tell you about the exact origin of the fiber. Not now, not yet. You'll know in 9 months' time, hopefully. But with such natural fiber, we had to make researches in labs to find a way to turn this fiber into a textile fiber and then turn it to a wire that could be used with a circular kneading machine. And this has been done in partnership with textile institutes that supported us. And for Pirates, well, we are a European startup. I'm Spanish, and we are based in Madrid, but our production is located in Italy, and therefore we work with many different textile institutes in Germany. So Italy, why? It's quite interesting. Italy, you know, sometimes people wonder and question Europe, but we see how designers and startups can make the most of it. Italy, why Italy? Because it's a country that is advanced for knitwear products. Is that the reason why you're working with them? Well, when I started out, more than 4 years ago, all inventions, all creations were made in the lab. So lab in Spain and in Germany. In Germany, where? We work with STFI. In Chemnitz. Yeah, I think we had them. I believe that we invited them. So you work with the German partners, German labs, yes. And this part of the job being done, we had to identify the right suppliers to come up to create those fabrics in industrial quantities, and to give those fabrics to brands and designers who are business partners. So I tried to develop this production process in Spain originally, but considering the textile crisis this recent years, it hasn't been easy to find the right operators. I also tried to do this in Portugal, but in vain. And I thought that the textile industry in Portugal is well protected. In the north of Portugal, I thought, in Porto, for instance. Well, perhaps I didn't knock on the right doors, but my action was not fruitful in the end. So the difficult part was not to find the right factory, but the factory that was willing to believe in our ideas and to stop its machines, just to reuse them on small productions originally, just for the sake of testing, and for the sake of prototyping. So we found a factory with today business partners, and this factory is located near Milan in a small village, Biella. Oh, it's more than a village, a small town. Yeah, it's an important city, important location for the textile industry in Italy. And today all our fabrics are produced with them. So it has been a great partnership indeed, because we could find the right people who were willing to believe in our project and wanted to give us a chance.
So we needed to find industrial quantities, volumes. Do you manufacture a lot of volume? We started selling our fabric a year ago in February of last year, and so far we've been able to sell over our entire range 10,000 meters of fabric, so we are very happy. So the success is wide open for you. So you're working on micro quantities, or are you up to 10,000 meters per year? Is it some type of applied craftsmanship, or are you looking at the market? Is it taking shape? It all depends on the type of material you use. The sole, we were talking about the sole, shoe sole. That's something that our partners can produce in large quantities if necessary. Is there any need on the market? How do you sell your sole? It's makeshift. You try, and we sell ourselves, and we have people selling these soles in their stores. We also have drugstores selling them, and pharmacies. We also have samples of abdominal belts, or for people who suffer from back pains. So we have, in the field of health, you have major industries. Did you approach these people who operate in the health sector? Answer is no. We manufacture our own products, and we use our partner networks. And it's a lot of hearsay. We have no marketing action or anything like that. We are a young company, but at one point, you have to identify potential customers. So do you communicate on social networks? But Anne is going to give you the answer. She's more involved with communication. I'm more involved with the technical aspects of things. It's one of the products we sell most. Yes, our sole is very successful. Cinnamon sole. it's a unique product. It's a leading product because it's for the well-being of individuals, those who wear it. It's a 100% biodegradable and natural product, so the end of life is not a problem for the environment. So we do a lot of direct sales, and we are investigating the way to integrate that sole directly on shoes. That would be one way to provide this product together with the shoe. Today it's a sole you add up inside the shoe. It's a separate product from the shoe. That's what we are exploring today, to have it inside the shoe. I've been told 9 months. Okay, 9 months. Did you identify partners? Yes, we did find partners here in France. So we're working on prototypes for sneakers because the mindset is more outdoors sneakers. We've heard about a startup. They have developed an interesting system for creation and distribution of shoe or wear, or fashion wear. I could tell you about this. That's for soles. What about hemp? What are the potential applications for hemp? We have hats, because one of the major qualities of hemp is to be anti-UVs. Do you have some bamboos on top of hemp, a mix of hemp? I did the fabric myself. I did the weaving myself. It's a mixture of hemp and linen. I've used hemp and flax fibers. I love using the roots, the development roots of material in basic way. Then we develop. You talked about industrial scale. That can be produced at a larger scale, but we also do large-scale research in the lab with CETI labs or private labs. Anne is going to answer that one. We are dealing with private labs. We are trying to develop new fibers. It's a side project we have, aside from the brand. We have realized that in our ecological organic sourcing, that the offering is quite limited if we want to have a strong enough impact. So we're trying to explore and test new other fibers outside our brand activities. All of you all, have you tried to mix natural fibers with artificial fibers? Have you been trying artificial fibers coming from new technologies? For sportswear, you need special shape memory material or flexible material for sportswear. Yes, for some of our formulas we use 5% of elastane, because for sportwear we need to have a certain degree of stretch. So what we are currently doing these days, and we're working on this, we're using elastane, biodegradable elastane, which has just been created, artificial material. Artificial material is part of the environmental references. Our fibers in the framework of pyretes, the fibers that have the right properties are always combined with other fibers. Our fabrics are not 100% algae fibers. We combine our innovative fibers together with traditional fibers. So what we test traditional fibers which are somehow either innovative, that is biodegradable, or recycled or organic fibers, and we concentrate our research work on that type of combination. So far we've been working with standard Lycra. This year we intend to launch fabrics including biodegradable elastane. Thank you very much. What about our friends in the audience, we will have a roving microphone. Do you have any question you would like to ask our speakers? Either on the type of material they use, or on the processes they use, or on the type of markets they have. The lady here has a question. Please bring a microphone. Madam, could you please tell us who you are and what you do? That is going to be useful for our speakers.
Yes, absolutely.
My name is Sarah Keith. I'm from Scotland, and I'm a textile designer. And
A textile designer. Yes.
Yes. So I teach textile design at university, and I do my own work as well. My question is to all of you, really.
All of you.
How closely do you work with designers? So you're developing materials, but do you work with designers right from the beginning, or are you going to designers after you've developed the product?
I think they have to from the beginning, but please.
Thank you so much for this question. I'm educated as a fashion designer myself, so design is like the starting point for me. But as I dived so much into like all the technical advances, I'm not that good designer anymore, because you have to generalize more and more. So when complexity jumps in, then I also have to ask other designers, just like software engineer and the electrical engineers and business developers, whatever is happening in the project. Yes, I work also with specific textile designers, and then even more specific like knitwear or weaving, and then not only the designers who can do design beautiful patterns, but also the technical engineers for textile. And so, of course, when you start off, maybe you have a team of 4 people, but sometimes in the end you have like 40 or that contribute in a tiny bit of it. So, but the obvious answer is yes, I collaborate with them. But I think you want to have a deeper answer there. But maybe we can talk about that later.
Well, in the case of Pirates, actually our first clients were young designers and designers that were aiming to experiment with our products. So since the beginning, we made the thing very easy, and today we still supply all our fabrics from 1 meter, so we don't have any minimums. We have very small limitations, so designers can really explore different options and designs with our fabrics. And then on another hand, we love to collaborate with designers, and we always try to be supportive with research projects or working in collaboration with designers. I'm not a designer myself, so since the beginning I surrounded myself by designers because I think it was an essential point to have in the team in order to really know what our products had to be addressed to. So if there is an opportunity to work with you and with designers that surround you, I would love to do it.
Ce qui est intéressant, c'est ce que vous soulignez, n'est-ce pas? C'est une des...
What you said is interesting, and the show is very interesting. Is you're producing small quantities. Very often it's a problem for designers. You have to find companies for sampling. The Italians have done the sampling. Like the designers, they need always small quantities. You cannot buy without using fabric. At TextWorld, it was initiated from the very beginning. It was one heavy and severe difficulty for designers. You can find the answer here, and you can find around you this notion of small quantities. You are a designer. I am in charge of designing the products most of the time, like your hat. I designed that hat myself, and then over the last few months we have received requests from designers who want to have organic materials, ecological and they want to manufacture so many T-shirts, they don't know what material have this idea for design. So we are starting to do that in small, very small quantities. There's a request from consumers. There's a demand from consumers for the final market, which is broadly used by designers. The designers are fully aware of this in their environment. It's also true for the automotive industry and the home furnishing to be able to meet the need for consumers to use natural materials. Have you worked outside the fashion industry, or are you only working in the fashion sector with the mesh industry? I think our type of fabric could find a very interesting output in the field of healthcare, but you have to go through other bridges or ways. We are talking to the banks to do more research, to go into, to work with the health industry. We concentrate in the fashion industry for health. And your friends from Tectera, where they work in the field of fashion, health, and health. Do you want to add something? I thought you did.
Because you want to enter the field of healthcare, did you already perform also biocompatibility tests to get them like really accepted into the healthcare industry, or how far are you there?
Actually, that's what I was mentioning. We haven't started to test our fabrics in the medical field, so for now we can't confirm anything. We believe there is a potential, but we're just starting with it. And for now, all our fabrics are only tested in the fashion field.
Et vous-même, vous travaillez.
And what about you?
Excuse me.
Yeah, I was going to ask you if you have done some of this.
Moi, j'ai une question aussi pour vous qui fait le lien avec ce que disait Régis.
I have a question for you in connection. You work in art, leisure, health has been mentioned before. Health, through the images we've seen, are you thinking on other application, other fields of application? Let me give you a stupid example. We've seen the T-shirt, the lady measuring a number of things. A computer could do it. Curtains, in the office environment. It's stupid what I'm saying, it's immediate, but are you referring or thinking about other applications?
And this is just one project of the many that I'm running. One of my biggest clients and collaborators is also Philips, which are really big in the healthcare area, and they are developing, for example, this consumer medical products, and that's also a very specific question that comes why I ask this, of course. So a lot of the tech that I'm using is being developed for other applications, for automotive or for healthcare, and also a few of my products that are being shown there are already products in the medical field. But I think that it's quite nice to have a very good treatment in healthcare, of course, when you are ill, but we better be early and prevent illness. So we better do what you're already suggesting, wear the good stuff so that we avoid illness, or that we avoid burnout, or that we avoid those kind of things. So I'm trying to move more the healthcare projects that I'm doing into the ordinary life, into the everyday life. Because why do we want to have our heartbeat only calculated when we are really in need of it, if we can avoid becoming in need of it? So if we can relax ourselves a little bit more at the moment that we need it, and make ourselves a little bit more aware of it. So I'm coming from this biocompatibility and all the regulation field and have quite some research being done there. But it's also because the regulations are so high, as often the fabrics and especially the looks and especially also the design aspects which you are referring to in healthcare are like totally not interesting. So then you also immediately look like a patient. Well, you know that like the Pirates materials are so pretty. We also want to have those into healthcare, but then we need some kind of regulation system also there. And I think we should move easier between the fields. But for me, it's more out of health into everyday life, into lifestyle.
Je crois que vous avez tout à fait raison. Je rebondis sur le mot que vous avez employé, prevent. La prévention et le prédictif.
Yes, prevention are very interesting elements today in terms of well-being, especially in the field of healthcare. If you deal with healthcare, because Fituan, which is the European leader of medical products, preventive action, customized, predictive, all these very key elements will make health products of the future. And we know the behavior of consumers, the healthcare of the future, and we know that textile has a major role to play for the future because it's touching your skin. It can provide signals, as you said earlier, in order to warn, to blow the whistle, to tell you you have to change your behavior to prevent a disease. Anybody else has a question for our friends around this table? We have two tables. Yes, David, you have two questions. We have two questions from the audience.
There's a lot of focus.
Excuse me, can you please explain? No,
yes.
Can you please explain to us? Not explain to us, but say your name and what your business or which company you are working for.
Okay, my name is Jeroen van der Einde.
Yes.
I'm a professor in product design at the Artes University of the Art in the Netherlands.
Lovely.
And I was wondering, your focus is very much on integrating technology in wearables to measure a lot of things, but do you know, and is there research of the effect of measuring is really helpful for this kind of people? Are you more anti-stress when you have all this kind of measuring? Because I can imagine that all that data is not that effective than you think at the moment.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, a very valid question. And what you see in current research being done also with the Fitbits, for example, and that even people gain weight while wearing a Fitbit, more than not wearing it, because you become so much aware of how many steps you made. So yes, that's a very valid question. And how we try to approach it, but to be honest, this product that we are presenting here is not tested in that sense. It's tested in a business loop, in the leasing system, because that's another kind of complexity that we also have to research if people are willing to lease their garments. So we focus more on that side. And on the other hand, I think you're going to be way more stressed when you know, like, oh, my heartbeat is going up right now, or it's going down right now, or whatever variety is happening. So therefore, we also used like the 3 data sets, like heartbeat, breathing, and acceleration, and not a direct communication to this person. Because we need to also make sense out of this data, and we only can make sense out of this data if you have this combination and also know a little bit about the lifestyle of this person. So it should be a learning algorithm that needs, on a longer distance, needs to know what your behavior normally is, and then can extract the difference there. For example, in Eindhoven University of Technology, we perform these kind of researches in learning algorithms and in interpreting data, but to be honest, we also still have to learn a lot there to really make sense out of it. So yes, it's a continuous research, and I think that's also what you see very, very clearly in my work. I'm running my business now since the last 12 years. I love the R&D processes, so like very early time long away from the market, and also when it comes close to the market, then others take it over, and they are way better in implementing and doing the marketing approach. But yeah, then I get also a lot of open ends in all the projects that I start off. Does that answer some kind of?
Yes, of course. Thank you.
Thank you.
And there's another question, I think.
Yes, I have a question for Regina. My name is Lucy. Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, I do know you.
I'm Lucy Huiskens. I am a program leader for the Innovation Network for Fashion and Textiles in the Netherlands, and I'm also working with my colleague Jeroen at Artes, University of the Arts. And I was triggered by your biodegradable elastan that you have developed, as you said. Or are going to use? Yeah.
But we haven't developed it.
Okay.
We're buying it from a fiber supplier.
Okay.
So and actually we're even buying the yarn. So it's not us who are developing it. We're just integrating it in our fabrics and buying it. And that's
okay.
it.
I just wondered for what exactly it is a solution, because elastan is often mixed with another fabric, and the problem of this mixing is that, let's say the original, let's say you mix it with cotton or something, then it's very difficult to recycle it, because you cannot separate the elastan of the so. Okay, then it is biodegradable, but it's still part of a mixed fabric. So is it really a solution, do you think?
It's not a solution. I mean, in the sense of a final solution. What we're trying here at Pirates is, as I said, to try to be as sustainable as possible, to explore everything that it's coming out of the market, that we can integrate as a new product and work with it and see what happens. Regarding especially this elastan, we have already done successful compositions, and we first test the durability of the product. Now we're actually working this month in February on how to then recycle this product, or how the fibers that we combine with this specific elastan will then in the future react together. So we're actually working on it, and it's interesting that you pointed out, because at the end, as I think Marina said as well, here we're just trying to be pioneers on this field and trying to explore as much options as possible, but it's still a very new field, and of course that's why we are needing at Pirates' case now the support from big groups. We are at the moment, specifically for this product, working on a project with ASICS for some sportswear collections for them. So this type of support of big groups, it's what can maybe improve these solutions, let's say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, please, you want to add something?
Yeah,
yes, Marina.
Of course, it's clear that we need other alternatives.
Yes,
like in
completely
textile
clear.
And we can't compete with an industry that is already there for thousands of years and do directly the right thing. And it's not only in textile and in fashion that we have to improve, but also in our well-being. We made the switch in that there are more people home because of mental illnesses like burnouts here in Europe than physical problems. So yes, also we have to try to get garments that take care of us better, and as we don't do it ourselves. So I think we have to do all hands on deck to get things changed. But don't blame us for doing it not the first time right, I think, and that's where we need some kind of support.
Merci beaucoup de souligner l'imbrication extrêmement nécessaire des grands groupes.
Thank you for underlining the need to get the support from large groups and to get, if you are into craftsmanship, if you are trying, you need to get the support. You mentioned exploration, this aspect to go one step further all the time in this advanced process. It's interesting to have this overall reflection in the fashion industry. A very open, advanced process. And Textworld is very interested into this type of proposals. And you will see the various proposals around you with various applications, all types of research. And you will see that at Avontex, you realize suddenly there is a mix, but this could be the conclusion. Time. I want to thank you for taking part into this roundtable. The technology is very much upstream, but today, with the topic of well-being connected to health, protection of the environment, so it's a new sphere, fully integrated, where everybody can become easily a partner. Thank you, ladies. There's one question from Alice. Alice always has the right to ask a question. Always has. It's a quick question on style. You all mentioned sportwear. When you look at your reflection on apparel industry, be it fashion, is already part of well-being, because getting dressed up is to comfort your image, your body image. It's psychological. When you choose the way what you want to wear, you are aware of your image, your personal image. It can help people to feel better. Do you, often there is this opposition by feeling well, comfortable, and the image you give. Is it your choice because you mentioned sportswear, because you feel at ease in sportswear, because it's a request from the outside, and it's because you take into consideration the request from your customers that you chose to do apparel in connection with sportswear or mesh? Or did you make that choice or come up to that choice because it's your personality, because that's what you wear on a daily basis? Who wants to give an answer? In the case of Paratex fabric, the reason was because we firmly believe that the future fabric, future garment must be comfortable. The research at Paratex, we have decided to concentrate on mesh, including art, leisure, ready-to-wear, and sportswear. And today we are starting to wear with underwear brands, because the well-being of Paratex is quite positive when there's skin contact. In our case, it was because mesh fabrics include a lot of clothing styles. We wanted our fabric to be worn every day. Today we are quite proud because we've started cooperating with Karima Gucci, a designer, and this designer is going to have his first ever collection during the Paris Fashion Week, ready-to-wear Fashion Week in February-March collection, and he's going to come up with dresses with embroideries made out of Paratex fabric. You can use it for t-shirts. So yes, for meshing, yes. For us, it's only sportswear because that's my passion. And we have made samples of more dress-up fabric, but those are only samples. You've made samples with people you know what I'm talking about. But it does not reflect so much what we are doing. It's not so typical. The material we develop, we want to be as versatile as possible. We want to be able to do We want to be able to work outside smartwear. We want to be able to supply material to anybody. We are not limited. We don't be limited to sportswear. Of course, you want to be able to cooperate. Some material might not go for extra light woven. It all depends what you're working on in terms of developing. Some material do not reach or comply with standards, some fashion standards, but the material fabrics we develop can be very versatile. When you're talking about technical development, because I'm personally convinced of that, I do believe that the shoe wear development will be able to be reused in other sectors, art, leisure, health, and sportswear. You can find lots of potential combinations because rubber soles, it's the only outlet for rubber are tires. So we've been working with tire companies even for the shoes. We have worked with other economic sectors, industrial sectors. We're using metal, and we have plans for recycling of metal. We can find a lot of interaction between various business fields, and we have to remain open. Thank you for attending, for taking part in this roundtable. Thank you to Alice, who is trying to convince you. Enjoy the rest of the day. I know that you organize a conference and you want to give us the title and attract people to attend.
3:15, we give a catwalk show in Hall 1, Hall 2.
In the catwalk space.
So be there if you want to see more and if you want to see the On Living Models. Thank you.